Before starting of the session, I would request to stand for the ICI motto.
य एष सुप्तेषु जाग्रति य एष सुप्तेषु जाग्रति कामं 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 कामपुरुषो पुरुषो निर्मिमाणः निर्मिमाणः तदेव शुक्रं तद्ब्रह्मा तदेवामृतमुच्यते तस्मिन् लोकः शतः सर्वे तदूनात्यधिकश्चन एतद्द्वैता 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 एतद्द्वैता.
Currently, the speaker is running late by 5-10 minutes, so we will just start I will just in between. I will just provide you the updates which has been provided by the government in related to the TDS inoperative PAN, the TDS for the corrections. They have given some limitation, and also what we have to do if there is a demand is there prior to 1920. So current we have seen that from last 2 years, the huge demand is coming in operative pen, and the major in few cases we have also seen that the demand at the time when the earlier when we have checked the pen was operative, but afterward the pen became inoperative, or just at the time of filing of the return we have seen the pen was operative, but the department was checking what is the status at the time of transaction. But since there was no utility provided by the department to check what is the status of the PAN at the time of transaction, because department was checking the TDS rate was calculated based on the status of the PAN at the time of transaction. But since there was no utility, many people were facing this huge demands, and we have even banks, or I will say many representation has been given to the department stating that either provide some relaxation in this clause or provide one utility to check what the status when the status has been changed. If the transaction is done in the month of April, and if we are filing the return in the month of June, at the time of June, if the PAN is operative, so generally we have seen that we are paying the full amount, deducting the TDS at a proper rate. But since the transaction date the PAN was inoperative, we have received the notices. So these types of errors was there. We have discussed with department also. We have discussed with many other things. So after discussion, department has came up the new solution. Okay, they have given one relaxation that first till 31st July, whatever the PAN was inoperative, and now till 30th October, if the PAN become operative, till 30th September, the PAN become operative, then the demand will get nullified, will get will automatically will get deleted. So, if any person have received any notices for short deduction due to inoperative PAN, and the PAN till now we have till 30th September we have the time. If the PAN become operative, the demand will get nullified. So, if any of you have received these notices, ask the deductee to please link the PAN with the Aadhaar, so that this demand would be removed. This is the past transaction, but future also. They have given one more relaxation, that if the month of transaction, in the month of transaction, the PAN is operative, but it become operative within 2 months. That is, if the month of August is there, then September, October. If the PAN become operative within October, then also there would not be any demand. So, in the month of transaction, though the PAN is inoperative, but at the time they have given the relaxation that within, they have given 2 months relaxation, that though in the month of transaction it is inoperative, but within 2 months, if the deductive make it operative, link it with the PAN and make it operative, there would not be any default. This is for the future transaction. But for this transaction, they have already given that till 31st July, whatever transaction which has been done till 31st July, September is the last day to make the PAN operative. Now this relaxation is also given for particular transactions only. That is the transaction for financial year 24-25 and this quarter. For financial year 23-24, this relaxation is not there. Because for financial year 23-24, already they have given one relaxation. That whatever the PAN was there, whatever the transaction of financial 23-24 has done, and till 31st May, the PAN has become operative, then only the relaxation will be provided. So 2 separate relaxation initially, which the government has provided for 31st May 24, and now this new relaxation. And second thing, we all know that the government has passed the new income tax bill, and it would be applicable from from next financial year. One important changes they have done that we all were unaware, or I would say that many people were not aware. They have reduced the period for correction of the TDS return. Earlier, the period for correcting the TDS return, they have till before 1st April, there was no limit. From 7-8 onwards till whenever you want, we can file the correction statement. But from 1st April 25, they have reduced it to 6 years. Now, in new bill, they have again reduced it to only 2 years only. So whatever TDS now you want to revise, you can revise only for 2 years, last 2 years only. उसके पहले का जो भी है, you cannot do anything. And many people are asking, sir, उसका demand क्या करें? So if there is a demand is there, like if the demand is there for financial year 7-8 to 19-20, I would request that you pay that demand and file an application with the income tax officer. Because currently there is no system of tagging the demand with the payment for any previous year. But you can pay the demand so that the interest meter which is there, which is running, will stop. Submit that challan copy and a letter to the department stating that this is the demand and I have paid this amount. Near future, they are planning up with some SOP, but since currently the income tax department is busy in introducing or coming up with a TDS 2.0, so they have not given up any solution for what we have to do for demand. So we are providing the solution that whatever demand is there from 7-8 till 19-20, pay that demand with interest and file an application letter with the income tax department so that this demand would be reduced. So if there are any corrections which is actually required to be made, in that case, calculate the demand, what would be the actual demand would be there. Make a proper application with the department that this is the correction because of which demand is there, and then submit it with the AO. Coming forward, I think AO will be provided the power to reduce this demand manually from this system. But actual correction, that means there is PAN error is there because of which our challan was already paid, but short payment is there. In that case, you have to just provide the challan copy. PAN error was there. In that case also, you just provide the PAN copy, proper PAN number to the AO. Right now, he cannot do anything, but near future, whenever this system would become, they will try to, they will give the power to the assessing officer so that this demand would be nullified. Because nowadays, we have seen that the demands of prior year is reflecting, but once you paid the demand, after it may, now they will provide us the option of tagging of the demand with the challan. Once you tag it, it will get the removed. So these two important update was there. Any other queries regarding, or you want to ask anything about TDS or anything? Any? Tax audit. Till now we don't have any update. However, recently I think so ICA has given a relaxation for this vertical balance sheet. Non-cooperative entities, there was from this year it was compulsory. So now they have given it as a voluntary. So this relaxation, which is there in the hand of ICA, they have provided to us. And one more announcement from today onwards, we have also started taking the feedback. So any after the, for feedback, we have kept the scanner at 3 places. One at near the presentation hall, second with the downstairs where we are signing it, there also scanner is provided, and third where the water bottle is kept, there also we have kept the scanner. So any person, if they want to provide any feedback regarding speakers, or they want any future event also they want us to improve, so we have kept this feedback. We are starting the taking up the feedback also. This feedback will help us to provide whatever whatever there is some issues are there, we'll try to rectify it, and it will try to improve our services or our seminar present Nepal. We are having this RRC in the month of December. So till now, till 30th September, we have kept it open. So anyone who have missed can always fill the form and take the benefit of this. So this RRC we have planned at Mount Abu. It would be of 2 night, 3 days. In the coming event, we have planned RRC. We have also planned the turf tournament, which is there on the 7th December. And also the institute has organized this regional conference, which is there on 19 and 20 December. So they have, WRC has requested us that please announce to the to your members so that they can take the benefit of it. Currently, discount is going on. Early bird discount is going on for this RRC, for regional council. The regional conference is at GO at from 19 December to 20 December. Any query, any questions regarding? AI courses. AI courses, or you want AI lectures? So we may plan it in the month of November. October we have already planned. We have kept some GST chain session. So in the month of November, we may plan up with the AI lectures. You can suggest the topic. We are having a word with a few speakers. So in the month of November, we are planning it. And we are also having a word with the WRC to have a series on DirectX bill, because there are many changes which is different, which is from the old bill which they have given us. The one example was the TDS correction date.
'56 GST Council meeting. So as you are aware, it is one of the biggest change in GST 2.0, that's how it's described in public. So there was a press release of almost 120 pages. So how many of you went through entire, maybe half the way? Anyone? Not a single person. Okay. So this lecture was required indeed. Subsequent to that press release, we have notifications which came on 17th of September. So we have around 8 notifications, each under CGST, IGST, as well as UTGST. We have 2 circulars. Apart from that, we have amendment in CGST rules, for which again there are 4 to 5 notifications. And this time the notification is also coming up with a major change in annual return, which is due in the month of December. Apart from that, there were certain provisions which came by Finance Act 2025, and all those will be implemented. Few of the same are already part of this notifications. So the same will be taken in detail by the speaker. So meanwhile, we can throw some questions or your views on this 56 council meeting. What is your thoughts? Anyone, please. I think today we have silent audience. यार कोई response नहीं कर रहा है. Yes. So preliminary to it seems, because, but as you know, it's getting recorded, but practically sometimes it's work different. So when we actually start implementing those registration, at that time we're able to justify like whether what is mentioned in the notification that benefit are passed on to actually small taxpayers. Any other thought? So they have mentioned that, if you are increasing, then there will be change. But the main question again is right now you are giving me registrations as a small taxpayer. Okay, your question is right. Subsequently, if I'm increasing, then whether my GST number will remain same, if I'm transferred to the regular taxpayer, how it will implicate my business. They have told right now that, being a small taxpayer and having minimum B2B transaction, so we'll give you registration without much of the mess. So that's how, but of course, practically once we start working on it from Monday, then we'll come to know how it works. Yeah, anyone else? Yeah. It was already there, but the practical thing again that it was never given. The provision was always there. So it is maybe a way of reminding again that, you are liable to give 90%. Apart from that, they also come up with the small refund thing. That, even the smaller refunds, they still can apply for the application and refund will be issued. So I expect something from you for sure. It was earlier in general, sir. But of course, as you are aware, inverted duty we never get in one go. It will take months and months to get that refund application cleared. Yes, sir, one from you. It's your area of practice, yeah. Yes, sir. Sir, substantial changes are there. Changes are very beneficial. Changes are very beneficial, and a few changes which we were expecting always. So as we know that the issue of the ITC of last year taken in next year, this issue was always there from day one. From 2017, we are facing this issue. So somehow, I could see some positive change in that, though even I haven't got time to get in detail, but we will surely have one session on the same. So such changes are positive, and it is something we were expecting. But at the same time, by when we get the revised form? Because they have to bring those changes in the form on the portal, and you know how it works. So they told it will be applicable from this financial year, but we are already, say, September is ending. So December is the due date. So they have to come out with the revised form, say at least in October, so that we could study the same, and then we are able to decide. Because whatever action we have taken up to last year, how we should carry it forward. It's a transition thing, basically. So how we will carry it forward, how it will impact in such a way that there shouldn't be any notice for some minor mismatch. So this is the primary take on that. Yes, sir. So they are notified. One of is this ISD provision, which is now properly notified, even the ITC distribution. So few they have taken up. So I think speaker will take it in detail. So all those they have notified. So not entire bill is not implemented, but the major part is implemented, and officially now it's part of the GST rules. Yeah. Yes, sir. So we have many different dates for many things. So ISD as such was applicable from 1st April. But now that calculation and everything, they are giving again 1st October date. So all this will of course lead to some sort of litigation. Yeah, anyone else? Speaker is on the way. He will be here in say next 5-7 minutes. Yes, sir. Sorry, sir. Acha. No, sir, services, there are very minor change, but nothing for CA as of now. We are not yet exempted, sir. Will maybe someday, but as of now, no, sir. Yeah, maybe never. But it is not going to 40, sir. We are still not luxury services. Yeah, anyone else? So industry is representing, we have certain judgments also, but nothing positive as of now, sir. Yes, anyone else? We can pick up one or two more maybe. Yeah, so how many, if since you guys are not asking question, let me ask. How many of you actually went through the rates notification and, summarize something? What is the major change? Which industry is majorly affecting by this? Okay. Health, okay, sir. Okay. Okay. Our own company, great. Oh, right. Yes, yes. Definitely, definitely. Right. Right. So I think it's, yes, sir, that will be there. That will be there. And the way they have came up with the FAQs, again, we have 4 set of FAQs, starting with first set of 75, followed by another 3. So based on the FAQs, as usual, it's government, so they have told to reverse or you cannot utilize and all. But I think there might be certain circulars which we are expecting, as many industries have already represented what issues are going to face after once it is implemented on Monday. So we are waiting for some sort of clarification from department as well on that. Yes, sir. Yes, regarding the cess compensations. Yes, yes, sir. Yes, sir. Yes. Sir, as a consumer, we are always going to ask much more. Sir, we always want 0%. That's not possible. So I think let's not get into politics.
Sir, institute cannot represent anything because whenever institute tries to do the one question says that okay, yeah. Institute has, I think,
So
sir,
I think let's we conclude this question here. Sorry, sir. Yeah, anyone else? Any other thought process on? Yes, sir. It's okay, sir. Yeah, sir, please. Yes, sir. So it's really a major welcoming change after Dharmendra Jani judgment, of course. Yes, sir. It's really welcoming change, but at the same time, there will be certain impact on the RCM liability on import of such services. So again, there will be a loss to those companies who are dealing with that type of transaction. So, but yeah, majority for exporters is really a big win, for sure.
so the commission would be considered now as an export only.
As export. But at the same time, when you are importing that service, you have to pay RCM also, which was not there earlier. So it's like give and take. But since we have major role in export vis-a-vis import, so it's a beneficial net. Yes, sir. But sir, we have anti-profitability provisions are coming from backdoors. So it is gone, but we have view of certain experts who are of the view that it is coming through some another section, not as an authority per se separate section, but it's coming and it's there in the law. So I am still to research on that. We have Hasmukh sir, so we can take his view. So, sir, your view on this anti-profiteering thing? So anything, we are happy to hear. Sir, we sometimes we have to even be a businessman also, and we also need to have some thought. The government when they brought up such changes, so we even need to keep that also in mind. Yes, sir. Yeah. Right. Yes, sir. Yes. You need to keep, yes, yes, you need to keep all the records. So the way we have this anti-profiteering earlier in 2017, so the same way they will justify and they see to it that benefits are passed on to the consumer in one way or other, for sure. Yes, anyone else? Yes, sir. Sir, so regarding that sale on approval, sir, we are waiting clarification on that. Because after this change of the rate, there will be impact on sale on approval transaction as well, which are already under a process. Like the goods are already with the retailer and they might come back. So sir, again, I told that we need, because the way they have came up with all this notification at such a short notice, so we need to have certain clarification. So be it pharma, be it auto, the representation already with the department. So industry have already went to them, but how fast they are coming and reverting, that's the time we say. Yes, yes, it is stock lying with them, but sir, it is still sale on approval. So ultimately it's your stock unless it is finally sold. Okay, so I'll welcome the speaker. Yeah, finally.
Now I request Jhavdai to please give a well introduction of the first speaker.
Hello. Thank you very much, Ravi bhai, for giving me the opportunity to introduce the first speaker of the session. Aditya Surte is a commerce and law graduate from the University of Mumbai and a fellow chartered accountant specializing in GST advisory, litigation, audit and compliance. He is a grandson of the legendary advocate P.V. Surte. Aditya also conducts training sessions for CA firms and corporates and regularly shares GST updates and insights through LinkedIn and his WhatsApp channel. He is a regular contributor to professional journals and forums, author of the chapter on applicability and impact of GST on charitable and religious trust, co-author of short publication on transitional provision in GST, key rulings under indirect tax law, a GST perspective. He is also a recognized faculty and resource person on GST for the Institute of Chartered Accountants of India. With this brief introduction, I request our convener Ravi sir to present a memento to speaker of this. I also request Ravi bhai to present a contribution to CABF on behalf of Study Center. I request speaker to start this.
Before saying good evening, I am going to say extremely sorry. It is my first time that I have been late and this late to any session. I have had an adventure coming. So started by road. It showed me that I will reach here not before 5:30. Therefore left the cab because the train station was far away, took a metro, changed one metro to the second metro, then took a train, and after burning a lot more calories, I have taken 1 hour 45 minutes to reach. So I could have avoided going to the gym in the morning, but that is not an excuse. I am extremely sorry. I will try my best to make it up for it during the session. Okay. Is the screen visible to everyone? Okay. So I have requested Vijal ma'am to, whatever time was allotted to me, I think it was till 6:30. I'll only take 15 minutes more. I'll not take up your time. And so thank you. First and foremost, thank you very much for inviting me to your prestigious study circle. Now we are here to understand or discuss the topic that was given to me was overview of the proposed amendments as per 56th council meeting. So not just the travel, this entire, from the time this session was offered to me till the time that I am here, everything has been whirlwind. As a matter of fact, last entire week or two have been whirlwind. So if you were to look at it, our Honorable Prime Minister has a thing for a little bit of a knack for theatrics and announcements, be it the demonetization or the lockdown or the 15th August next gen GST reforms 2.0. So with theatrics, has anyone done theater in college or or doing now? Anyone connected with theater? Yes, some of you are. So you will be aware that in theater there is a director, and then there is an announcer, then there are actors, and there are people at the backstage, correct? Those doing the set, those doing the makeup, and so many other things. We do not even know how many things go at the backstage which makes that play come in front of you in theater. Just like that, we have an announcer, we have a director, a madam who is directing everything, and then something was announced. Now the businesses are the actors. They are at the forefront, collecting the tax and paying the tax. और पूरा जो बैकएंड का बैकस्टेज का टीम है ना, वो हम लोग हैं, भाग रहे हैं. The day this was announced that this will be coming in Diwali, शुरू हो गया speculation. ठीक है, उसका एनालिसिस चालू हो गया. Because of the speculation and other aspects, this was preponed कि दिवाली नहीं, अभी दशहरे को करेंगे. Then that council meeting happened. Late night, they worked so much that late at night they decided कि वो कल तक 3rd and 4th was supposed to be the council meeting. 3rd को ही announcement कर दिया. At 10:41 we have press release at night, which is 100 pages. Along with that FAQ. ठीक है, तो वो रात को ही एनालिसिस चालू हो गया. उसके बाद में there has been FAQ 2, FAQ 3. After, if I have given a lecture yesterday, this morning there is FAQ 4. So Bijal madam has been asking कि please send your presentation for distribution. I said I had given this session at Malad Chamber. I said after that, when she told me that at that time it was only proposals. Thereafter, the day she asked me, when will you send the presentation? I said tomorrow. That evening, notifications came. 9 notification rate central tax, 9 notification rate in IGST, 9 notification rate UTGST. 5 to 6 notifications of central tax, changing rules and other procedural aspects. 1 compensation rate notification which has created havoc. So this is the entire background of what has brought me. So my journey today is very much symbolic to what has been happening over the last few days. That being said, the changes that are proposed are extremely brave. They are very good. As a consumer, I am very happy. Very few countries have been able to fit, like with the structure like ours, have been able to fit goods and services into 2 brackets. We are trying. I am not saying that we are going to be successful in the first attempt. We all know, but at least we are trying. We are not staying with status quo. So with this, let's go ahead. I will discuss the proposals. I have inserted wherever notifications that have been put in between. At the end, I will be discussing issues. Now, sectoral issues I will not go deep into, or as a matter of fact, as a punishment to myself, I will not be able to touch upon them also. I will try to, but the primary intention is that I would not want to infringe upon the area of the second speaker, who is a learned speaker, to speak about the sectoral issues. So I will not go deep into that, only 1 or 2 I will discuss. Otherwise, I will give you an overview as to what has been announced and what has actually happened. So the when, what and why of why we are here. Like I already said, GST 2.0 was announced by the Honorable Prime Minister, revealed in the Independence Day speech. However, please bear in mind that this exercise has been going on since September 2021, because the initial group of ministers on rate rationalization was formed way back in September 21. Then there were changes made to that group of ministers, and finally they came up with their proposal. This was being discussed for almost a year now. So this was in the pipelines. And then the 56th council meeting was held on the 3rd of September. The 3 pillars of the new GST reforms, as again announced by the Prime Minister and the Honorable Finance Minister also, was that there will be structural reforms, there will be rate rationalization, and we will also consider ease of living, that is trade facilitation. Correct? what are the reasons? Why are we doing this now? Because according to some people, ये GST का अब भी 8 साल हो रहा है. There are so many issues already. Why are you changing everything again? So to that, the answer is that, of course, the government has a robust machinery to review what all is going on. They have the statistics, and it was felt that GST has sufficiently stabilized. GST in itself, when it was brought in 2017, was a brave move. A lot of commentators or critics at that time might have also said that we are not yet ready, but there was another view that we were never going to be ready. In a structure like ours, at some point, and that is where it was a brave move to bring it at that time. So now it was felt that GST has stabilized sufficiently to tweak it, make more changes in it. So that was the first intention. It has been observed even back in 2019 where the rates were reduced, not this significantly, that in the initial phase, of course, you are going to have a little bit of a hit on your revenue collection, but in the long run, it leads to buoyancy, the economy picks up, the consumption picks up. It is a human psychology once again, and especially in the Indian economy, that if you see a higher rate of tax, कोई भी बोलेगा मेरे को बिल नहीं चाहिए. The moment you reduce those tax rates, people start purchasing those same goods or services officially or through official channels. So that is one part of it. Second is you reduce the taxes because this is an indirect tax. We want to reduce our dependence on indirect taxes because that is where you will head to a healthy economy. That is where our target is now. In the initial phases, we were comparing our GST rates to Canada and other European countries where the rates are still higher. Our rate was already lower. Now we are trying to compete with our Asian peers. So over there also, the primary purpose, so if you see what rates have changed, their focus has been that the end consumption goods, the rates have been reduced. The idea is, if you give more money in people's hands, people will spend more and the economy will flourish. That is the whole idea. Some people question whether Trump tariffs was the reason for bringing this. So to that my answer is, like I said, this is not an exercise. Trump tariffs have come just now. This exercise has been going on since the last year or so, and therefore, although this exercise is not the result of Trump tariffs, but implementation may have been preponed because of this whole instability that has been caused. Coming to the first part of rate rationalization, we now have a standard rate of 18% for general goods and services, a merit rate of 5% for essential or merit goods. There is a demerit rate of 40% for certain specific sin or luxury items, which is a smaller list now compared to the 28% list. So essentially, we are eliminating the 12% and the 28% slab. We will now keep a 5% and 18%. Please bear in mind, apart from 5% and 18%, there are certain items under 3%, 0.25%, 1.5% categories, but that list is very small. All the entries in these three rate schedules are only 20. So other than that, a small list is there for 40%. Other than that, now all the goods and services are split into 5% and 18%. What is the rationale of the rate rationalization? Their idea was to keep the similar goods at the same rate to avoid issues of misclassification and disputes. This is all based on the press release, the press conference that was held thereafter. I have no special insight into what they have thought. This is what they've announced. So they wanted to avoid misclassification and the disputes. So to minimize them, they cannot entirely avoid them. The idea was also to correct the inversion of rates. Certain industries were facing inversion of rates. However, it is my understanding and my observation that while doing so, they also know that certain inversions have actually increased. So that is the second part. To that also they are trying to bring out a procedural aspect. We'll discuss that. And the demerit rate has been set at 40% to basically maintain the pre-rationalization tax incidence on sin and luxury goods. As we all must have heard, compensation, majority of these sin goods were taxed at 28% rate of GST plus a compensation cess. Cars, for example, 28% plus 1% or 3% or 15% or 17%, depending on what kind of car it is. So now compensation cess has been removed. So in order to maintain the same rate, they are saying that we are now bringing it at 40%. Why 40%? If you see section 9, the charging section, the maximum rate that they can charge is 20% for CGST, 20% for SGST, 40% for IGST. So जो भी maximum possible rate है, without amending the law, that is the rate that they are charging. The core principles as per the council's announcement are that we want to reduce the tax burden on the common man, we want to support the crucial sectors of the economy, and we again want to minimize the classification disputes. For the effective date of change, this also I am sure all of you by now are aware, 22nd September 2025 is the effective date for change in rate of tax of all goods and services that we are seeing. Notifications have come. Notifications also state that, barring one exception, that the old rate of 28% plus cess on pan masala, gutka, cigarettes, so basically the tobacco items, is going to continue. Till when it is going to continue? Till all the loans that have been taken for this compensation cess, the loans and the interest thereon is cleared out. So the council has given authority to the finance minister to decide the date as to when these products will come in the 40% bracket, and that 28% plus compensation cess goes away. In the press conference, finance minister has stated that she believes that by the end of this year, all of this will be done. One more point to note, that all these goods, the pan masala, gutka, cigarettes, unmanufactured tobacco, chewing tobacco, now will be taxed on a retail sale price based valuation instead of a transaction value. Which are the sectors impacted by goods rate changes? Across the board, almost all the sectors are impacted. I am not going in the detail of each sector, but I'll just give a few examples. So food, tobacco, agriculture, fertilizer. So when the announcement was made, the list that was given, it was around 416 items of goods for which the rates have changed. In food, majority of the food items are now at 5%. All Indian breads are now exempt. It does not matter whether it is called khakra, paratha, parota, pizza bread, anything is exempt now. Namkeen, packaged and labeled, was at 12%, not pre-packaged and labeled was at 5%. Now all namkeen is at 5%. The residual entry 2106, all other food items, that chapter heading is now also down from 18% to 5%. So almost all food items at 5%. Agriculture commodities, majority of the goods have been brought down from 18% to 5%. Regarding electronics, ACs, dishwashers, which were at 28%, have been brought down to 18%. ACs less than 32 inches were already at 18%, more than 32 inches were at 28%. Now they have been, all the TVs are at 18% with effect from 22nd of September 25. Automobiles, I will not get into the details over here, but the small cars, which are sub 4 meter, petrol cars under 1200 cc, diesel cars under 1500 cc, which are as per the Motor Vehicles Act, small cars, at 18%, no cess. The mid-size and large cars at 40%, no cess. The pharmaceutical industry, 33 and 36 life-saving drugs have been exempted. In case of education, pencils, sharpeners, erasers are exempted. There are certain issues cropping out of that, which the next session might cover that. Regarding footwear, now there is 5% tax on footwear where the selling price is up to 2,500 rupees. Earlier, up to 1,000 rupees, it was 12%. Now it is that threshold has been increased for footwear as well as your textile articles from 1,000 to 2,500, and for footwear the rate has been brought down from 12 to 5%. In construction, cement, bricks, the rates have changed. One major change that people are talking about is cement has come down from 28% to 18%, and there are certain other goods as well. Regarding services, not as many rate changes in services, and many services the rates have actually increased. Goods, the rates have gone down, the services rates have increased. Around 33 services as per the announcement at that time. Regarding insurance, individual life and health insurance services, including reinsurance, have been exempted. The notification that has come is also very clear that only insurance relating to individual and his family. When it comes to health insurance, family floater plans are also covered. Group insurance is not covered by this exemption. Regarding transportation services, rate change has happened in passenger transportation as well as GTA services. GTA service providers earlier had that 5% or 12% option. Correct? 5%. So first is reverse charge versus forward charge ka option. Forward charge mein they have had an option of 5% without ITC, 12% with ITC. Invoice wise they can decide. As if it was not already complicated. So this is the third or fourth time that GTA sector has been revised, and those people are clueless as to what is happening. I am sorry to say, but yes, that is what is actually the case. So now the simple change is that 12% has been increased to 18%. There are some fallouts of it also. Then rate on job work services has been reduced across the board, and the residuary job work services has been increased from 12% to 18%. Local delivery services, a new category is sought to be introduced. Delivery services through e-commerce operators, and where the supplier is not liable for registration, who is supplying through the e-commerce operator, those services will be brought under 9 subsection 5. The e-commerce operator will be required to discharge the tax. Where the supplier of local delivery services is registered, he'll be required to charge and collect tax at 18% on local delivery services. They've also amended the definition of GTA to clarify that it does not include local delivery services through e-commerce operator or by e-commerce operator. That means nobody should take that route के मैं तो GTA सर्विस प्रोवाइड कर रहा हूँ और 5% लगेगा, नहीं, 18 ही लगाना है. ठीक है. In hospitality sector, accommodation services up to 7,500 per room per day was earlier taxed at 12% with ITC, now 5% without ITC. So rate of tax has gone down, but it is without ITC. Construction services, works contract services that are provided to central government, state government, local authority or union territory, the rate of tax has been increased from 12% to 18%, and subcontractor providing those services to the main contractor also increased from 12% to 18%. Other than that, there are no changes in construction services as such. There is a third change also which I am not able to recollect immediately. So now I am coming to the notifications that have been issued. First I am talking about the tariff notifications, the rate notifications. Notification number 9 to 17 central tax rate have come. In that 9 has a corrigendum, 10 also has a corrigendum. So 9 and 10 were, all these notifications were issued on 17th of September. On 18th, 2 corrigendums have come to change some minor errors in 9 and 10. All these notifications are, the rate changes are effective from 22nd of September. Notification number 9 is to supersede notification number 1 of 2017 central tax rate, which is the principal notification for rate of tax on goods. Now again, the notification is quite long. It is 57 pages. If we have the time, we can also, I have prepared not the rates as such, but for services I have prepared a summary. I will show it to you. I will share it also. Goods I am yet to prepare because the list is longer. But this is to give you an idea of what exactly has happened. Earlier they used to go on making amendments. Now what has happened is they have superseded the original principal notification. So earlier, whenever we had to look at the rates, all the amendments were made to rate notification number 1/2017. So you had to come from 1, and there are certain service providers who always provide us with the changes made to 1. But we used to look at notification number 1/2017 for notification in a rate of tax for goods. Now, this has been replaced by 9 of 2025. Okay? So, earlier it was easy to remember also. 1 was for goods, 11 was for services. Now, for services, since the changes are not that significant, they have only made amendments. So, now what is going to happen is rate of tax for services, the principal notification remains 11 of 2017 central tax rate. For goods, it is going to be 9 of 2025 central tax rate. Clear? For then the next one, 10 of 2025, this is superseding notification 2 of 2017, which was the principal notification for exemption from goods. Correct? After the rate notification, there was exemption to goods. That has also been superseded. So now we'll have to refer to this. This is the principal notification now. To understand the change in rate of goods, this is easier, because instead of going on changing every line item, they have just stated that now we are going to replace these schedules, and then there are 7 schedules that have been put. Next comes 11 of 2025. This is to increase the rate of GST on goods which are required in connection with petroleum operations from 12% to 18%. This is basically amending the principal partial exemption notification 3 of 2017. The next notification is to change this is a minor change, only in this, you must be aware that there is a notification 8 of 2018 central tax rate, which gives the rate of tax on sale of old and used motor vehicles. Correct? That concessional rate of tax on margin amount. So that notification remains the same. Over there was a reference to the original rate notification. Now they are just making this amendment to change the reference to the principal notification. Next one is to reduce the rate of GST on handicraft goods from 12% to 5%. The principal partial exemption notification was 21/2018. That has been amended. Next is 14 of 2025 to notify 12% GST rate on fly ash bricks, fly ash aggregates, fly ash blocks, which come under 6815, bricks of fossil meals or similar siliceous earths, building bricks, earthen or roofing tiles. So these are the items which have been brought, they have changed the rate, and the rate now notified is 12%. Next one is to amend the notification 11 of 2017, which is the principal notification for rate of GST on services. Okay? So again, I am repeating this. For goods, the principal notification has been replaced. For services, the original principal notification remains, only changes have been made by way of amendments. Next notification is again making amendments to the principal exemption notification in relation to services, that is 12/2017. Only one primary change, that is exemption to individual life insurance, individual health insurance, and reinsurance. Next notification is to bring the local delivery services supplied through e-commerce operators by persons who are not required to obtain registration under 22 of so basically, like I said, people who are under the threshold, who are not required to obtain registration under section 22, when they are supplying services through e-commerce operator, and those services are delivery services, then this notification is saying these services will be covered by 9 subsection 5, meaning thereby that the e-commerce operator will be deemed to be the supplier of these services. He will be required to discharge tax at 18%. I will repeat, where those people are liable for registration, they must obtain registration and discharge the tax themselves. Not everything is going under 9 subsection 5. So these were the central tax notifications. I have not referred to the IGST notifications or the UTGST one. They are replicas. One notification under compensation cess rate is 2/2025. The original compensation cess rate notification was 1 of 2017 compensation cess rate. This notification is amending that principal notification, and wherever there were rate of compensation cess given, except for pan masala, gutka, and other tobacco products, it is saying all these things are now, all these rates are now replaced by nil, 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 nil. Okay. Now I come to the process reforms. I have talked about the rate rationalization and the notifications that have been issued. Regarding process reforms, they have announced, and certain notifications have also come in to state that we will grant a risk-based 90% provisional refunds from, the announcement was that we'll grant them from 1st of November 2025. We are all aware that under section 54, read with rule 91, whenever an application is made for a refund on account of zero rated supplies, the officer is required to grant a provisional refund of 90% within 7 days. Now it was announced that it will be, so certain changes have been made to 91 sub rule 2. Basically that sub rule 2 has been substituted entirely. This is, in my reading, doing two things. One is the method of or mode of granting the refund is changing. Now there is a system risk-based procedure that is going to be followed. Till now, we have not had any risk-based criterias as such, except where there has been a certain prosecution and that amount is 2 crore rupees or higher, then there is a blockage. Other than that, there is no, so they must have developed certain criteria, or the criteria must be under development. We are yet to come to know what the criteria is. So now, based on system risk-based analysis, the order will be passed, RFD4, and your 90% refund will be granted. This mechanism is also going to be followed, in my view, for inverted duty structure refunds. This is only for zero rated. However, for inverted duty structure, we are all aware that the refund comes only on account of two occasions. One is that if you are making a zero rated supply, which is either an export or a supply to SEZ. Second is if your supplies are under inverted rate structure. Now, because of so many changes that have been made to the rates, it is seen that a lot of inversion is going to happen, because a lot of output is going under, especially of goods, is going under 5%. Correct? So inversion is going to increase. So the finance minister also announced that we are aware, and the FAQs are also stating that in certain cases the inversion is going to deepen, but they are bringing process reforms to ensure that inverted rate structure refunds are also expedited and granted more easily and freely. The problem is section 54 subsection 6 does not allow for provisional refund for inverted rate structure. It only talks about zero rated supplies. The rules, the procedure has been changed. They will have to make changes to the act to enable these refunds. At the press conference, the finance minister also announced, and I think it is part of the press release also, that the finance minister has asked the CBIC to instruct the field formations to start granting 90% provisional refund of inverted rate structure from 1st of November as well, despite the pending amendment. Okay, so that remains to be seen what is going to be done. So this rule has been amended effective from 1st of October 25. We now need to see when this 54(6) is amended so that they can also start granting, and what they do with the 1st of November deadline that the finance minister has said that please start granting provisional refunds for inverted rate structure as well. One question that does come up, that this is the instruction given by CBIC to central authorities. What about states? No such instructions or no such news is there. So it remains to be seen what is going to happen. It was also announced that certain categories of people will not be granted provisional refund and they will be notified. Accordingly, notification number 14 of 2025 central tax has been issued to notify the categories of persons who shall not be allowed provisional refund. Like I said, earlier there was no such category, but now there is. First is non-Aadhaar authenticated people. Persons, taxpayers who have not authenticated their Aadhaar will not be granted provisional refund. Second is suppliers of areca nuts, pan masala, tobacco products, essential oils. From whatever data that the government has, it must have been felt that these are the industries where certain mischief is happening. So in order to curb that, they have stated that provisional refunds will not be granted to these people automatically. Remains to be seen what is there in the rules, but I do not think that it is going to be automatic. So But the language, if you see, right now also it was stated he shall issue an order. But in your practical experience, was it being issued? So my understanding of it is, and I am yet to study it in detail, is that now the default route what they have given is that the system will tell the officer that refund should be granted. It is 1 minute, okay. I remember reading this. So what they have done is, they have also stated the refunds should be granted automatically. Where the officer feels that refund should not be granted, he has to record the reasons for not allowing the refund in writing. Okay, so that is one check to bring transparency. Point number 2, if the officer is recording the reasons in writing, then some people may say that this is still not an appealable order. However, this is still an order. So in my view, whatever is in writing and the law does not state that this is not appealable is still appealable. And even if not appeal, at least your writ route remains open, that somebody passes an order, has to give reasons as to why he is denying you provisional refund, you can challenge it. Okay. Next is refunds for low value export consignments to benefit small exporters. There is right now under 54 subsection 14, there is a bar that refunds below 1,000 rupees will not be granted. They are removing that bar. They are saying that those small exporters who export through postal or courier routes will also grant them refund. They want to encourage exporters. However, please bear in mind, this will also require an amendment to section 54. The point I am trying to highlight, 1 or 2 places I may highlight it again, is that because of so much barrage of information on us, sometimes we lose track as to what has changed, what has not changed. With regard to Finance Act also, the notification that have come for rates, they are also, one of the notifications is notifying the date for certain changes made by the Finance Act 2025. If time permits, we'll come to that also. But so please bear in mind that plant or machinery or plant and machinery wala change that was done, no, that has been notified now. Okay. This change is going to be made, but will be applicable only when an amendment is carried out to the Act. Next is simplified registration for low risk or small suppliers. This announcement was made. I have not, in the notifications that I went through, I have not come across any provisions in the rules or changes in the rules regarding this. Probably another notification will come, or I may have missed it. But what they have stated is that we are going to grant an optional facility. So this is a very good welcome change. It remains to be seen how it is implemented. Right now, all of you who are practicing in GST know that the biggest pain point is the starting point, obtaining registration. 3 to 4 times you have to apply, only then you will get registration, correct? So understanding this difficulty, what they are now saying is, because the entire registration process is looked through the lens of fake invoicing as of now. So in order to do some ease of doing business, they have stated that we'll come out with an optional facility. First understand this will be an optional facility. So there will be 2 modes of registration. Please understand this. We will give you automated registration. So when you apply, system will grant you registration within 3 working days for such low risk applicants. Okay, now there will be a system based risk analysis. Okay, there will obviously be an Aadhaar authentication mandatory for this. And then there will be a declaration by this supplier that my output tax liability to registered persons. So my B2B monthly supplies will not, the tax amount will not exceed 2.5 lakh rupees per month. Meaning thereby that I am starting small. My exposure to revenue loss is not going to be high. So they will grant you automated registration within 3 days. Now what remains to be seen is, and it is quite certain that once this will be a separate category of registration. It is my understanding that once this category of registration is granted to you, there will be some system level restrictions while you are filing returns to state that you will not be allowed to report liability more than 2.5 lakh rupees. This 2.5 lakh rupees is going to be total of IGST, CGST, SGST. Okay. So when you grow and you want to come out, probably you will have to obtain regular registration. Whatever scrutiny the officers want to do, will do at that time. There is also an in-principle approval given for a simplified registration scheme for small suppliers who are supplying through e-commerce operators and require multiple state registrations. All of those who are supplying through e-commerce operators, obviously the e-commerce operators require them to store goods at their various warehouses for quick delivery, and then such suppliers have to obtain registration, because wherever your goods are stored, you have to obtain registration. So every state in which the goods are stored, they have to obtain registration. So right now, there are a lot of small suppliers who are supplying through e-commerce operators who are having to deal with multiple registrations and multiple state compliances. In order to ease their burden, right now this is an in-principle approval. The past experience says whatever is granted as an in-principle approval eventually does come out as a policy or a procedure. But right again, I am highlighting here that this is only at the in-principle approval stage right now. The modalities are yet to be finalized. Next, process reform is a big change for a lot of people. The place of supply with regard to intermediary services, as you all know, Section 13, subsection 8, clause B of IGST Act says that the place of supply for intermediary services will be the location of supplier of such services. So all those people who are supplying services from here, and there has been a lot of litigation on this right from the service tax era, continued in the GST era also, where the battle is with whether this is an export of service or whether that supplier of service is required to pay the tax, because one of the conditions of export is that the place of supply has to be outside India, and the moment someone is categorized as an intermediary services, the place of supply falls in India, and therefore he is not able to claim the export benefit. In order to bring them out of this trouble, it is now recommended to omit this clause B of subsection 8 of section 13 of the IGST Act. Therefore, the place of supply of even intermediary services will fall under the general clause, that is section 13 subsection 2 of the IGST Act, which says that the place of supply will be location of recipient, whereby the place of supply will be outside India and they will qualify for export benefits. There are one or two aspects in this which still need to be noted. Point number one, again, this will require an amendment to the IGST Act. So please wait for this. This will be simpler though, because the amendments in CGST Act are only notified when all the SGST Acts are also amended. With regard to amendments to IGST Act, they are going to be faster because only the central government is involved. Okay, so that is one part, but this is not coming from 22nd of September. This will require an amendment. So plan your affairs accordingly. Point number two, there are certain cases where certain exporters of goods had taken positions that there are importers on record in those other countries or certain services that were provided by people in those countries, that we will not pay tax on import of services because those people are also intermediaries, and as per 13(8)(b), the place of supply falls under that. So for import of services, the place of supply has to come in India. When a supplier outside India is treated as an intermediary, then there was no need to pay tax on RCM on import of services. Now that position will not be, those people will not be able to take in certain cases where they are handling goods. Again, they will still go and say that these are performance-based services. Wherever the goods are being handled, that is the that location is the place of supply. Similar things might happen that the department may also try to take that stand with regard to intermediaries in certain cases standing in India. So that battle, we'll see how it plays out. But as of now, for majority of the players, this is one major relief, that even if he is qualified as intermediary, export benefits may be available. Next part is post-sale discounts. It was announced that we will omit. Now, most of you might be aware of section 15, subsection 3, clause B, subclause 1. 15, 3B talks about post-sale discount. 15.3 talks about exclusion of discount. A says that whatever discount is shown on the invoice, you are allowed to reduce from the value of supply. B says that whatever discount is given post the supply will only be allowed to be reduced. The first condition is that there has to be an agreement existing either before the supply or on the date of supply. So that pre-existing agreement was one condition. Second condition of that first clause itself was that the discount has to be linked to specific invoices. This condition they are removing. So now, because there were issues in, proving that there is a pre-existing agreement, so that dispute is over altogether. You don't need to prove that there was a pre-existing agreement for this post-sale discount. It does not even have to be linked to specific invoices. They have also stated that we are going to amend 15.3b to specifically provide issuance of credit notes. As of now, it says that a document. The second condition is that the recipient should have reversed the credit based on the document issued. Again, when it's a B2B supply, when you have charged tax to someone has taken the input tax credit, the moment you issue a supply credit note or a post-supply discount credit note, you are practically taking a refund from the government because you are reducing your liability to that extent. So that is where the conditions have always been very stringent. Now they are saying, again, the document was always understood to be a credit note. They are saying that we are going to specify in section 15.3b that this will be a credit note issued under section 34, and section 34 will also be amended to include a reference to 15.3b for reversal of ITC by the recipient. Then there was also a circular 212 which was issued because there was a problem as to how do I prove that my recipient has actually reversed his ITC, correct? Then there was some litigation that was going on. To come with some sort of a mechanism, they had issued this circular whereby there was a CA certificate. Okay, if the amount exceeded a certain amount, CA certificate, up to a certain amount, self-declaration was to be given, saying that I have reversed the ITC. That was to be produced to the officer to prove that my recipient has reversed the ITC. Now, since IMS has come, and it is automatically, the credit notes are automatically going and the credit is automatically reducing, and where he is rejecting, the liability is automatically increasing. So now since IMS has come, they have done away with this circular. They had also stated in the announcements that we will issue a fresh circular on issues which were previously covered. So for post-sale discounts, 2 circulars had come. One circular was 92 of 2019, which is still there. And then there was a second circular. The last part of 92 was elaborated further in your circular number 105. So in that there were 3 or 4 aspects that were covered. 2 of them were very contentious. So that circular was subsequently rescinded or withdrawn ab initio by that subsequent circular. So at that time, while issuing this circular to withdraw this earlier circular ab initio, they had stated that we'll come out with a fresh circular after duly considering. Now, since 2019 till 2025, there was no circular. Now a clarification, they had said that we'll issue, and this circular has come on 12th of September 2025. Okay. 3 issues are being explained. I will quickly take you through them. You can study that circular at length at your leisure. First issue that is being covered is the ITC availability with financial or commercial credit notes. In your whatever material that is distributed, please bear in mind that this issue 3, please ignore this slide. I had created as issue 1, issue 2, issue 3, then I converted it into table, and in the rush, that slide has remained. So I think that, yes, that third issue is getting covered over here. So first issue is ITC availability with financial or commercial credit notes. The issue was that when the supplier is issuing financial or commercial credit notes, because the post-sale conditions are not getting satisfied, the 15.3b conditions are not getting satisfied. One issue was that the payment to the supplier has reduced, correct? But I have taken the full ITC on the original invoice. Thereafter, whatever credit note has been issued to me, there is no tax reduction, there is no ITC reversal required. However, that 16.2, I think second proviso says that if you don't make payment to the supplier along with tax within 180 days, you are required to proportionately reverse your ITC. So some departmental authorities had taken this stand that, see, you had received 118, thereafter तुमको 5 रुपए का दिया है credit note, तो you have taken the entire 18 rupees credit, you are required to proportionately reverse because you have not paid the full 118 amount, you have only paid 113 rupees. So that debate, again, in that original notification circular also, this point was clear, it is repeated here, that there is no reduction in original transaction value or tax liability, and therefore the recipient is not required to reverse the ITC in case of financial credit notes. Second issue is post-sale discount by a manufacturer to a dealer as an additional consideration for inducement of supply between the dealer and the end consumer, which is what some people call as a back-to-back discount, where I have supplied something to you for 100 rupees and the market price has gone down to 98. I tell you that you sell it at 98, I'll grant you a 2 rupees credit note. Correct? So they have stated the debate was, and that original circular in this regard had stated, that this is nothing but a consideration for supply by the retailer to the end customer, but this consideration of 2 rupees, that credit note that has been issued by the manufacturer to the dealer, is nothing but consideration flowing from a third party to the dealer, and therefore these 2 rupees should be added to the value of supply of the dealer to the end consumer, and therefore 98 rupees pay is anyway collecting tax from the end customer on the, but he is required to pay to the government tax on 100 rupees. That was the clarification. Over here they have clarified that where there is no agreement between the manufacturer and end customer, please understand the situation, there is a manufacturer, there is a dealer or distributor, there is an end customer. We are talking about transaction between the dealer or distributor and the end customer. What the circular is saying is that where there is no agreement between the manufacturer and the end customer, then the transaction between the manufacturer and the dealer and the end customer are two separate transactions. The dealer takes ownership of goods on principal to principal basis when he purchases the goods from the manufacturer. Thereafter, if he is selling it at a lower price, it is for the discount is for competitive pricing or for pushing his sales. This 2 rupees credit notes that I talked about, gave example of, cannot be included in consideration as monetary value of inducement. So this is clear. It also says that where there is an agreement between the manufacturer and the end customer and the discount is linked to that agreed end customer price, then since the manufacturer has agreed with the end customer on a discounted price and the manufacturer issues a commercial or financial credit note to the dealer, this enables the dealer to supply at an agreed or discount rate. Therefore, this must be included in the overall consideration as inducement towards supply by dealer to the end customer. Okay? The third issue that is the circular is addressing is regarding post-sale discount as consideration for promotional activities. There also in that earlier circular it was stated that where the discount is on account of where it requires the dealer, where a manufacturer is giving discount, and it requires the dealer to undertake certain advertisement campaigns or certain other activities, then it will be deemed that it is a supply of service by the dealer to the manufacturer and he is required to pay tax separately on it. Over here, and there were a lot of judgments from the excise regime also, even of the Supreme Court, which had clarified that this is not the case. When any discount is given of this sort, it is not just the manufacturer but the dealer who also benefits from doing such advertisement campaigns because his sales also increase. He is also interested in his business. Same thing is repeated here, where they are saying that the general promotional activities by the dealer are activities to enhance the sale of the dealer's own goods. The discount is not linked to the independent service rendered to the manufacturer, not to be treated as consideration for separate supply of service. Where there is a specific agreement that I will give you this discount and the circular says that the GST will be leviable when the services are undertaken by the dealer are explicitly stated in the agreement with clearly defined consideration payable for such supply, then yes, this will be a supply of service. The next part of reforms, GST Appellate Tribunal is finally coming. It is to be operationalized for accepting appeals by the end of September 25. The hearings should commence before the end of this year, December 2025. They have stated that 30th June 2026, and a notification I think also has been issued to appoint 30th June 2026 as the date up to which all the backlog of cases of orders passed up to 31st March 2026 will be accepted. Communicated. Orders communicated after 1st of April 2026, the appeal will have to be filed within 3 months. Okay? So orders communicated up to 31st of March 2026, the appeal can be filed by 30th June 2026. In the rule amendments, I think that is notification number 13 of 2025 central tax, the rules have been amended. Procedural aspects of appellate tribunal have also, certain aspects have been changed, only online filing will be done. And then there are changes to the appeal forms. There are a lot of details that have to be entered, and it is advisable all those who are required to file appeals to the tribunal, although they will start accepting appeals from a certain date and you have 30th June 26, it is advisable that you start gathering and preparing the data for filling the forms in that manner. Someone somewhere said, I don't know whether it was in a lighter vein, but I took it very seriously, that considering the backlog of 8 years, every single day of delay in filing of appeal to the tribunal may lead to several months or years of delay in hearing. So please be aware of that. The principal bench of the appellate tribunal will also serve as the National Appellate Authority for advance rulings. Certain points of caution. I am towards the end of my presentation. One or two important points I will highlight and I will move forward. Again, the mid-month implementation is going to be a problem. Before this meeting had happened, I had posted something saying that certain things which should be avoided. Now, 22nd September has been announced as the first day of Navratri for increasing demand and all those things. Like I said, we are the backstage artists. We know what the actors are going to face. The system level changes that are required to be done and the reporting nightmare so ideally the changes should be done from the new financial year. However, looking at the current dynamic era that we live in, the responsiveness has to be there, so they cannot wait till the new financial year. At the very least, the changes could have been brought from a new month. Okay, but now your September return, you have to be very careful as to certain supplies are going to be at this rate, certain supplies are going to be that rate, then there are going to be ASMT 10, then they will be responding, businesses will have trouble, practitioners will have a good time. Yes. Okay. So next, something that you need to be aware of, what is the rate of tax to be charged? Because that is a question right from the day it was announced and the rate notifications came. I don't know about you, but I am either constantly trying to analyze, responding to my clients' calls as to what rate should we charge and how do we pass on the benefits. Two questions are the most important questions that we have to answer right now. So what rate is to be charged? You must bear in mind the provisions of section 14 of the CGST Act, which deals with time of supply in case of change in rate, and this section 14 overrides your 12 or 13. So you do not have to see 12 or 13. Notwithstanding anything that is mentioned there, in case of change in rate of goods or services, 14 will apply. What you have to basically see, there is the next slide which I have covered, but you will get this. I will not spend time on this. The shortcut to it is that you have to see three things. One is when the supply of goods or services has been made. Second is what is the date of invoice. Third is what is the date of payment. Identify these three things. If 2 out of these 3 things have happened before 22nd of September, old rate. If 2 out of these things have happened on or after 22nd September, new rate. Now there are certain interpretational issues as to what is, so invoice date is clear. Payment date is pretty clear. Okay, whatever is recorded in books, what is coming into the bank account, it is also stated over there. Some interpretational issue comes from supply of goods. One, this is also posted on the social media. नहीं ना, recorded for internal purpose. नहीं, I have already said so much. उसमें और क्या बोलेगा? नहीं, there is nothing illegal I am talking about, but no, independent, and like I always say that at the beginning of this session I had said at MCTC also that it is very good as consumer. Like I said, I'm happy, but not merely celebrating any announcement is not just important. As professionals, we have to maintain our professional skepticism, analyze in what is coming in true letter and spirit. That is one part. Second is, and my grandfather used to always say, all the laws are good. The problem is with how they are implemented. Okay? So I have no problem with the intention of the policy. The problems are going to be in how these intentions are actually implemented at the ground level, and already certain problems we are seeing, certain sectoral issues we'll see in the next session. I will try to attend some part of it myself also. So that is one part. So section 14, supply, when it comes to, so one example I will give, supply of services. You supplied certain services on 15th of September. Raising of invoice, you are allowed to raise invoice within 30 days. If you raise your invoice within 30 days, that is the time of supply. Correct? At that time. Okay, but that is as per the regular time of supply. When the rate change has happened, if you have supplied the services, and if you have raised the invoice before 22nd September, even if your payment has come later, it is the old rate. Correct? But if your payment has come later and you have issued the invoice later, then new rate. In case of goods, a lot of people are facing this problem कि sir, माल लेना है नए रेट से, रेट कम हो गया है, ठीक है, बट आज के तारीख में 22 तारीख तक चुप तो नहीं बैठ सकते, तो माल तो लेना है, बट नए रेट में लेना है, तो कैसा करें? माल तो भेजने को सामने वाला रेडी है, हम पैसा नहीं देंगे तब तक तो माल नहीं भेजेगा. So supply is happening, payment is happening, then what rate should be applied? Correct? What the workaround that people have found, one workaround is supply on approval basis. Correct? Which allows you to approve the goods within 6 months, which is a perfectly legitimate way. Correct? So on delivery challan, the goods are coming, and then after 22nd September, an approval will go and invoice will be raised at the new rate. Okay? So these are, yes, very legitimate planning methods. Some people who are not doing this on approval basis, please bear in mind, there are e-way bills, there is documentation that should be maintained in order to prove that, you know, you have not tried to evade tax. If your output is, so I will quickly go through the points and finish. In case of accumulation of ITC, if your, no, that's fine, yeah. Accumulation of ITC, if your rate of tax on inputs is higher than rate of tax on outputs, whether you are eligible for refund of inverted rate structure, there is one slide that I am covering in this, I will cover in that. The FAQs state that you are not eligible for refund because this is not covered by inverted rate structure according to the FAQ and one circular number 135. Of course, they also state that you can utilize this tax. Once you have availed the tax at a higher rate, say at 12%, and your goods have become 5%, you have availed that input tax credit, there is no timeline for utilization, and therefore you can utilize it for whatever time that is there. Now, depending on business to business and how much is your margin, your utilization timelines will vary. There will be certain exceptional cases where that person may state that I can never utilize this. मेरा मार्जिन ही इतना नहीं है और मेरा अगर 18 से कुछ 5 पे आ गया, अगर 13% का गैप है and he has a stock, then he is going to have a problem. In that case, my recommendation would be, if you think that you are not going to be utilize it, apply for a refund of IDS. Okay? No, if your rate of tax goes down, no reversal. That is the next part. If your output becomes exempt on 22nd of September, then obviously 18 subsection 4 applies. You are required to reverse whatever ITC is there. As a matter of fact, whatever stock of goods you have as on 21st of September, you have to reverse the entire ITC. If you have utilized a part of it, and so basically when you are going to pay it through input, your electronic credit ledger, if it gets exhausted and there is still amount that is required to be paid, you have to pay it in cash. Yeah. Wherever the rates are changing to exempt or without ITC, you are going to have to. So without ITC is a different problem, but wherever they say that this is exempt, 18 subsection 4 is very clear, where your goods or services become wholly exempt. Whatever stock you have of the goods, you have to reverse the ITC. I'm sorry? Correct. Yes, in my view, 18.4 does not apply, because this is a rate notification which has said 5% without ITC. whatever fresh purchases you make, you may not claim that ITC. Earlier, whatever you have is your legitimate ITC which you have claimed, which is appearing in your credit ledger, you have availed it. If you have any other supplies tomorrow, you can utilize that. You are not mandated to reverse it under 18(4). हाँ? तो पड़ा रहेगा sir. ठीक है? So again, inverted rate structure is an option that should be explored or could be explored in that case. I will cover this and then at the end we can discuss, because some of the issues will be discussed there also. So increase in IDS, I have already said that there is going to be increase in inverted duty structure, but they are bringing reforms in procedure. E-way bills in transit, if your goods have moved on 20th of September, rate at the old rate, you have created the e-way bill at old rate, they have not reached by 22nd September, they are on the road, and rates have changed, your old e-way bills are very much valid, because e-way bill is required to be generated before the goods move out, and the FAQ number 12 is also clarifying this aspect very clearly. In case of ambulances, I wanted to point out one thing, that there is a GST rate reduction on ambulances, but please bear in mind, it is only applicable to motor vehicles which are cleared as ambulances and duly fitted with all necessary fitments, furniture and accessories necessary for an ambulance at the time of clearance from the factory itself. Something that is fitted later cannot qualify as an ambulance at that rate. What will happen to that? Regular GST motor vehicle rate 40%. Section 14 is done. Certain inconsistencies that I found in the rationale that they have stated, again, these are my personal views, not to spend a lot of time on this, but they have stated that toilet soap bar has gone down, so soap bar has gone down to 5%, but liquid soap remains at 18%. The FAQ state that the rationale is to help we are going to help the lower middle class and the poorer sections. So therefore, the assumption is that bar soap is used by lower middle class, liquid soap is not used by lower middle class. So we are all not part of lower middle class, please bear in mind. Okay? Or if we are using bar soap, we are part of lower middle class. Okay? In my house, my wife is not, I am. That is the fallacy. Okay? Face powder and shampoos across the board, 5% they have reduced to. The question was why on everything? The answer is this is used by all segments of population, irrespective of it's a poor class, middle class, higher class. Toothpaste, toothbrush, dental floss has gone down to 5%. Mouthwash is still at 18%. Why? The answer is basic dental hygiene goods have been reduced. So mouthwash is not considered to be basic dental hygiene. So why I pointed out these certain fallacies is because on one side you say that we want to bring similar goods at the same rate to avoid issues in misclassification and dispute, and then you go and do this, that this soap is at 5%, this soap is at 18%, and so these products of dental hygiene at 5% and this one product at 18% is still going to create some problem. Refund in case of inverted duty structure, I will quickly make my point. If your output has become exempt, it was taxable till 21st of September, it becomes exempt on 22nd of September, whatever credit you have, you are not eligible for refund under inverted rate structure. Why? And there is no doubt about this, because the Act, Section 54, subsection 3 contains a proviso which states that no refund of unutilized ITC will be allowed in cases other than clause 2, where credit is accumulated on account of rate of tax on inputs being higher than rate of tax on output supplies, other than nil rated or fully exempt supplies. Okay, so the Act itself tells you that you will not be granted inverted rate structure where your output becomes exempt. Second point, what happens when your 12% becomes 5%? Okay, now if you read the provision of 54(3), it only says when your accumulated ITC on account of rate of tax on input being higher than rate of tax on output, other than nil rated or exempted, correct? Now, the FAQ, as madam pointed out, states that you will not be given. Then they have referred to this circular number 135. I have put the relevant para 3.2 of this circular, which says that the input and output being the same in such cases, though attracting different tax rates at different points in time, do not get covered under the provisions of 54(3)(2) of CGST Act. Their logic is, if the nature of goods changes, that becomes, it becomes another separate product, then inverted rate applies. In case of a trader, same goods you are selling, and when you bought it was at 12%, when you are selling at 5%, this according to them is not inverted rate structure. And this circular that they are referring to, I would only like to point out, point number 1, nowhere in the provisions of the Act this is stated, and my view is also supported by this Guwahati High Court judgment in case of BMG Informatics, wherein this particular circulars, this particular para that they had referred to, and stated that this declaration or provision or clarification by CBIC on 3.2 para appears to be in conflict and provides to the contrary of the provisions of section 54.3.2, and therefore this para 3.2 will have to be ignored. Correct? And therefore what I'm saying is that if your rate of tax has gone down from 12 to 5 and you see that I cannot utilize this credit, you should apply for inverted rate refund application. Last problem of inverted rate structure, rate of tax on goods have gone down, rate of tax on services has gone up, and your formula of inverted rate structure does not include input tax credit of services. And Supreme Court in VKC footsteps has clarified that that rule is very much constitutional. They are allowed to do that. Thereafter, they had also suggested the council to do something about it, allow it. Thereafter, that formula was tweaked. Okay. The manner in which it is tweaked, I can only tell you that marginally thoda sa refund बढ़ जाता है, but ITC of services is still not granted. Certain miscellaneous issues to close it. Simplified automated registration I have already covered. How will they do the system level scrutiny and in GST returns remains to be seen. Exemption to individual insurance policies, please bear in mind 100 rupees of, I don't need to explain this to a group of chartered accountants sitting in Borivali, so we can skip this. You are well aware that 100 rupees plus 18 of your premium, insurance premium tomorrow is not going to come down to 100. 18 rupees chala gaya exemption se. The insurance companies are going to have to bear the cost of reversal of proportionate ITC because their output has become exempt. Although majority of the reinsurance part has also been exempted, but your 100 may become 103 or 104 or 105. It will still go down, but not by 18 rupees. Debit notes or credit. This is one aspect I should clarify because this is gets under my coverage only. One question is constantly asked: at what rate? आज मैंने सेल कर दिया, okay, at old rate. I have sold at on 15th or whatever it is in August also. Now those goods are coming back after 22nd September, at which point the rate of tax is 5%. Whether the credit note that I am issuing should be at 12% or 5% is a question that is being asked. It can be reverse also. ठीक है, 28 का 40 हो गया, ठीक है, अभी इस पे वो टाइम पे टैक्स 28% लगाया था, सेस लगाया रहेगा. इन केस ऑफ सर्टन एरिएटेड ड्रिंक्स 18% का 40% गया. अभी एट द न्यू रेट इज 40%. So rates may have increased, rates may have gone down. The principle that we are talking about is whether the credit notes and debit notes should be issued at the new rate or at the old rate. Anyone's view? Everyone is saying old. We are going to save time in discussing this. So you are agreeing, I am agreeing with you. Okay, so that's the second question, how to report in jail. So my answer to this, and I will give you answer to your question also. There are two views to this. I will give my view. Any debit note or credit note is intricately linked to the original supply, and therefore it is an extension of the original supply. Secondly, if you see time of supply, some people answer it saying that credit note ka time of supply ke hisab se naye rate se aayega. Your time of supply provisions, if you see, it only talks about invoice. It does not talk about a debit note or credit note, and rightly so, because debit notes and credit notes are extension of the invoice, is my argument. Second argument I also give by bringing in that ISD का distribution का जो formula दिया है, rule section 20 and the related rule, where it states that if you have distributed credit, the ISD has distributed credit, and thereafter the ISD receives a credit note, that credit reduction that is to be done even in a subsequent month has to be done at the original rate at which the invoice was distributed. So even they agree to this. How to report? My question was this only, कि कल जाके मेरा अगर उसमें 12 बचेगा ही नहीं, so how do I report that? To which a friend answered very practically and logically that till what time are you allowed to report the credit notes for 25-26? 30th November 2026, correct? नाउ टिल दैट टाइम 25-26 का कुछ अगर इनवॉइस मिस हो गया रहेगा पुराना, वो भी मेरे को रिपोर्ट करने के लिए अलाउड है, तो GSTR 1 से 12% हटेगा नहीं, 30 नवंबर तक तो हटेगा नहीं, तो क्रेडिट नोट भी जाएगा. आई सेड यू आर राइट. ठीक है. नेक्स्ट, एंटी प्रॉफिटरिंग. लॉट ऑफ लाइक आई सेड पीपल आर आस्किंग हाउ डू आई पास ऑन द बेनिफिट. सबने बोला है you have to pass on the benefit. The finance minister has also stated that I am going to personally closely watch this. Huh? So everybody is scared. What to do? Please bear in mind, Section 171 is still present in the CGST Act, but it is non-operational because there was a sunset clause on accepting applications. From 1st of April 2025, they stopped accepting applications. It is my view though, but that it can be revived also because it's only a matter of notification. The principal provision still remains in there. They have also stated that the GST appellate tribunal will now act as the anti-profiteering authority, the principal bench. So this will come back. That is one part. The government has already stated that we are confident that voluntary compliance will happen in the first 3 years also. Minimal disputes were there, so everybody, and people have announced also. Tata Motors was the first to announce rate reduction. Everybody is announcing. Third part is that CBIC has issued directions to field formations, given a list of around 54 daily use commodities that they are going to have to track the prices before reduction, after reduction, and they are going to give a report. So they are tracking certain commodities. At the same time, so the short point I'm making is, if you are not passing on benefit for some reason, you are not in non-compliance with the act of the CGST Act itself, at least. Okay? If your commodities or services are regulated by certain authority, if you are supplying in insurance, pharmaceutical, or FMCG, or whatever it is, then those conditions will apply to you. Okay? And you will have to pass on the reduction as per that authority. Last, yes. The next is pharma sector, FMCG sector, which I will completely skip. I will let sir take it. My only personal bone of contention, which I have even written an article on this day before yesterday, and I will only take 2 minutes on this last part. Accumulated compensation cess. What to do? How many of you over here have clients who are automobile dealers? None. So none of you are facing that pinch. Okay. If they are not automobile dealers, but say this logic will equally apply to your aerated drinks, correct? Where compensation, if you have stock lying, okay, and you had compensation cess which is unutilized, what do you do from 22nd of September? Correct? Automobile dealers are the worst affected because the compensation cess rate was also high. They had stocked up vehicles for the festive season, and this sudden announcement has come. Now the one major intention of this was to give support to the automobile sector, to increase the demand. But the situation right now is that this is deforming the sector, correct? And from whatever I know, there have been at least 2 meetings. One with the Prime Minister's office, second with the Finance Minister's office, where they have tried, where FADA and where SIAM have tried to tell them that you need to build certain way to allow us this unutilized credit, either grant us a refund or allow us to utilize it against the GST liability. If you look at the law, the Section 11 of the Compensation Cess Act very clearly states that compensation cess credit can only be utilized against compensation cess liability. There have been various judgments in the past, including of Supreme Court, if I'm not mistaken, under the excise and service tax regime, which have clearly stated that cess credit cannot be utilized against tax. So over there, there is no scope. Unless the government builds a bridge, it is not going to be possible. Now, as if this was not enough, another controversy has erupted a couple of days earlier, whereby some people have taken a stand or a possible interpretation that forget losing that unutilized credit of compensation cess. The estimated amount of unutilized compensation cess was around 2,500 crore rupees across all the dealers. Okay. Now, they are saying forget that unutilized amount. whatever stock you are holding as on 21st of September 2025, you will be required to reverse the entire compensation cess that you have claimed as credit, which they have paid to the manufacturers, under 18 subsection 4. Why? The interpretation is coming because that compensation cess notification that I referred to, no, one notification which I said is creating havoc, उधर nil 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 लिख दिया सब जगह पे. If you look at the definition of exempt supply in section 2 of the CGST Act, exempt supply means supply of goods or services which attract nil rate of tax or which are wholly exempt from tax under section 11. So because of this nil rate of tax, now they have, and under CGST, SGST, there is no goods or services which are under nil rate of tax. They are either taxable at some rate or exemption is granted under section 11. So till now it was understood that exemption notification आया तो 18(4) apply होता है. This is the first time कि nil 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 आ गया. Now your section 11 of the Cess Act also states that wherever whatever provisions are not contained in the Cess Act, CGST Act ka provisions will apply mutatis mutandis. So now the interpretation, this is a hyper-technical interpretation, which is not the intention of the government also, but interpretation is coming out. So there are certain issues that are happening. I will not take more time. Thank you for first and foremost tolerating my delay and allowing me some more time to talk about the issue and inviting me. Thank you.
Thank you, Aditya ji. Now I request Bijal to please give a well-deserved vote of thanks. Question we will take in the break only.
Yeah, I'm here.
Thank you and good evening once again. So you all agree with me that it was an enriching session, starting with overview of the council meeting by the press release, followed by the update on the rate notifications which were recently issued, and highlighting the practical issues on the process reform. So we are grateful to the speaker for accepting our invitation and take us the session in such a short notice and covering all the amendments. I am also thankful to all the participants, all the members who have actively participated throughout the session. I'll request you all to join hands to present the heartiest vote of thanks to the speaker. We'll take a break for 15 minutes and then we'll meet again for the second session.